All right, we're going to be working in Chapter 6, and what we're going to focus on is just word problems. And the way we're going to solve these is still using substitution and elimination, okay? So we're going to ask you to define a variable, write a system of equations. Remember, system means we have at least two equations. Solve, and then we're going to write a sentence with our answer. So we're not going to worry about writing an ordered pair on this because we're going to interpret it using a complete sentence, okay? All right, so just like we always do, the first thing we're going to do is read it, and then we're going to come up with what is it that they're looking for here. So the sum of two numbers is 62, and their difference is 8. What are the numbers? Okay, so in this case, I'm going to define my variables just as like number 1 and number 2. So I'm going to put x is equal to like the first number, and y will equal the second number. And you guys can use any letters you want. I'm just using x and y on this one. Okay, now, each sentence, comma, or and. Okay, let me say it again. Sentence, comma, or and will separate. So here we have a comma, and an and. Okay, so that's going to separate your two equations. So just start with the first part here. The sum. Well, sum means add. Is 62. So we're going to add and get the total of 62. So x plus y equals 62. Okay, so now I look at the second part here. Their difference is 8. So again, keep in mind, this comma and breaks. Here's one equation, here's the other equation. So there's two separate ideas here. So now since it says difference, it just means we're going to subtract. So instead of saying x plus y, we're going to say x minus y equals 8. I think it's 8, right? Yeah, 8. All right. Now, at this point, substitution or elimination. You now get to pick which one. Now, some of them are going to be set up more for substitution, and others are going to be set up more for elimination. So when I look at this guy right here, I automatically think elimination only because I know that the y's will cancel. Okay, now you could substitute. You can move the y over and then plug in down here if you want to do all that. But in this case, I think it's easier to go ahead and just cancel those out. And then keep in mind that x and x is 2x equals 62 plus 8 is 70. Okay, so now we're going to solve our equation, divide by 2. So x equals 35. And then we're going to take it and plug it back in. Again, it doesn't matter which one you plug into. I'm just going to plug it into the top, but it wouldn't matter. So I'm going to get 35 plus y equals 62. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 35 off. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with y equals 27. Okay, so now again, we're not worried about an ordered pair here. That's the only difference between just a plug and chug problem and a word problem. So what we're going to do now is just write a sentence. Okay, so the first number is 35, and the second number is 27. Okay, and there's my 4 parts. So again, we're going to define a variable, write a system of equations, so we need 2, we'll solve it out, and then write your answer in a sentence form. Okay, all right, so let's try this next one here. Okay, if the length of the rectangle is twice the width, and the perimeter of the rectangle is 30 centimeters, what is the length and width of the rectangle? All right, so first thing we're going to do, define our variable. So the question is, what is the length and width of the rectangle? So I'm just going to use L for length. If you want to use X and Y, you can. I just think it's easier to keep things straight when we use the letters that represent them. So L equals length, W equals width. Okay, and like I just said, if you've got a period, a comma, or an and, that's going to separate your two ideas right there. We've got an and a comma. Okay, so we have the length of the rectangle is twice the width. There's one idea. There's one equation. Okay, then we have the perimeter of the rectangle is 30. Oops, wrong guy there. Perimeter of the rectangle is 30. There's your second equation. Okay, all right, so break down the words. Length, so L, right, is means equals twice the width or twice W. Just break down your words. Okay, so down here, I'm going to have L equals 2W for my first equation. Okay. All right, and on the second equation here, let's see what it says. The perimeter of the rectangle is 30. All right, so perimeter, you guys keep telling me, add all the sides. So if I'm thinking about a rectangle here and I'm adding all the sides, I'd have a length, a width, and a width. Okay, so when I'm writing an equation here, I'm going to have two W's and two L's for perimeter. Okay, add up all the sides. So when I write this down, I'm going to have two lengths plus two widths, and that's going to equal the perimeter of 30. So it's going to equal 30. Okay? Now in this case, because we already have an L equals, it's already set up for substitution, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to plug him in for the L. So I have 2 times 2W plus 2W equals 30. Combine like terms, or sorry, multiply first and get 4W plus 2W equals 30. Now combine like terms, so 6W equals 30. And then when I divide, W will equal 5. Again, take this guy, plug it back in. It doesn't matter which one. I think the top one looks easier, so that's what I'm going to go with. So L equals 2 times 5, or L equals 10. Okay, now we got to write our sentence though. We're almost done. So in this case, make sure you include units. So the units was centimeters, so we need to make sure we include that in our writing. So the length is 10 centimeters and the width is 5 centimeters. Okay, all right. Okay, next one here. So there are 785 students in the senior class, period. So like we just talked about, there is one idea right there, done, okay, because there's a period. If there are 77 more females in the class than males, okay, that's kind of important there, 77 more females in the class than males, how many male and female seniors are there in the class? Okay, so first off, let's define our variable. I'm looking for how many male and female seniors. Okay, so I'm going to use M and F. So M, number of male seniors, and F will be number of female seniors. Okay, oops. All right, so now let's go back up here and look at our first sentence. There are 785 students, period. Well, who makes up 785 students? The males and the females. So when I'm writing this guy out, I'm going to put male plus female equals 785. Okay, now let's go to the second guy here. There are 77 more females in the class than males. So how I kind of like to think of this is, if we know that we have a total of 785 students, right? That's our total, so we added them up. If there's 77 more of something, that means when we subtract, we should get 77. The only thing we got to be careful about is subtraction. Order is important. We got to put the biggest amount of people out first. So we got to think, do we have more females or more males? Well, it says there's 77 females. So when I'm writing my equation here, I'm going to have females minus the males, because females, there's more of them. And when I do that, I get 77 left over. Okay? Now, real quick, this is almost set up for elimination. I mean, if I look right here, M and the negative M can cancel out. So what I'm going to do is, because addition doesn't matter, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this guy as female plus male. That's an F there. Didn't catch very well. Okay? So what I'm really going to use is female plus, plus male equals 785, and then female minus male equals 77. Now, if I look at this, this guy's already set up for elimination. The females will the males will cancel, and so F plus F is 2F equals, and then let's go ahead and take 785 plus 77 there. Let's see what we get. And we get 862. Now divide that by 2, and so we end up with 431. Now we're still got to figure out what our males are. So let's go ahead and just take a second, plug that back in. So I've got 431 plus male equals 785. So now I'm going to subtract that 431 off, and I'm going to end up with 354 males. Okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and write our sentence. There are 431 females and 354 males in the senior class. All right, and that concludes your notes for Chapter 6, Word Problem Worksheet number 1.